Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be looking at using making some backgrounds for a focal image. So I'm starting in my large Dilutions journal. You can already see I've got some mess on this page from the previous page. I just brushed off my back ink pad and I wanted to make it a little bit more coherent. So I've just spread some fluid acrylic paint over the background. Now fluid acrylic paint is a little bit more translucent, a little bit runnier than the normal acrylic paint that I use, which is a thick bodied acrylic paint. You can see the difference here. The first one sort of spread out really easily, it was very liquid, whereas this one was thick bodied and I'm having to use a paintbrush to spread it out. So I'm just using these large stencils from the Crafters Workshop, or TCW stencils, to rub off the background. So I've put down the paint, then I've got a wet wipe and I've rubbed off the excess paint. Then I've dried it, which is really important for this technique because you want to have overlaying or overlapping layers. So acrylics are great for this because they overlap really well when they are dry. If I tried to do this when it's wet, I would be getting greens and browns happening. So you'll see I'm deliberately overlaying the paint, so some of the yellow's gone into the blue, and I'm rubbing some stuff away so you can see through it. I already had the image cut out that I wanted to use, but I wanted to make sure I had a bit of a background on it. And when I placed it on, I wanted it to be a little bit darker. So I've got some of my night paint, which is sort of like a really deep navy colour, to do sort of a, is it vignette? I'm never 100% sure how to say that, border around the edge. And with that I'm using the same technique with this Art by Marlene stencil with the stars. So I've got this sort of starry border to surround it, and it gives, with that bit of brightness in the middle, gives it a bit of a frame to what I'm doing. The image itself has come from a magazine called Womenkind. Amazing magazine. It's where the image on the other page has come from as well. Beautiful artwork in it. I think this piece was drawn by Sandra Pelzer, but I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely in the Womenkind magazine, so go check that out. And I just love her beautiful eyes and her gorgeous face. I particularly like using focal images like this because, one, they're just so attractive and so pleasing to the eye, but also having images like this in my journal helps me have really good exemplars. So when I go to draw a face that's got perfect proportion on it, really big open eyes that I can sort of take and study a little bit more closely if I wanted to try and draw it myself. So it's a really great way to sort of keep all your favourite inspirations in your journal, in something that you're actually working in, so it's there. If I tried to put it up on my board in front of me, it'd get covered by other stuff. If I tried to put it anywhere else, it's just going to get lost in my mess. So at least if it's in my journal, it's somewhere where I'm flipping through that I can stop and look and I can go back and refer to really easily. Because I'd done the stars in the background, I wanted to use a quote that had stars on it. I'm trying different writing styles as well, so trying a little bit of linked writing, cursive writing in this one. I've still got a long way to go with my calligraphy, but that's okay. The same premise that I usually do when I'm doing my handwriting is write it out first with a thinner pen and then go back and thicken up the downstrokes. Now, well done to everyone who could spot the spelling mistake there, because, you know, ground is not ground. But this is why I use paint pens, which seems really weird. But I like the fact that I can wipe them away. When they are not dry, I can wipe them away with a wet wipe. Because I mostly work on acrylics, and the backgrounds are usually dry when I'm working, it keeps the acrylic paint from the paint pen wet for a little bit longer, and it means I can remove it really well with a wet wipe. Obviously you could certainly write out with a pencil beforehand or water-soluble pencil. I just find I'm a bit heavy-handed with those, so I prefer just going straight in with a pen. Plus it, you know, gives you that little bit of fear that, you know, you need to concentrate on what you're doing and spell it right. So just keep your editing eyes on. You'll also notice with this that most of it fits in onto the page, but when I got down to the ground, there was no way I was going to fit that in, and I didn't mind writing over the image. When it comes to writing quotes on the page, usually for me the quotes are the most important part. They're the bit that I want to focus on. In this, it was obviously the quote, but also keeping the face clean and clear, so actually writing over her body wasn't a big deal for me. I didn't mind that too much. To put a little bit more focus onto the stars, I'm just using really squiggly, scraggly lines across my stars just to help pull them out from the background a little bit and add that little bit of white to balance up the page. So I've not only got the quote floating around her, but I've got the white of the stars as well. So it just gives that little bit of a triangle thing happening. You've got the white cat at the bottom, the quote on the left hand side, and then the white from the stars surrounding the image as well, to add a little bit of balance to the whole page. So it's pretty simple. When I was going in with the quote as well, you'll notice I use my black pen just to put a drop shadow on my letters. What that does is help push it out from the background. So in some cases not very noticeable. In the close-ups you'll see at the end, you'll probably notice a little bit how that's pushed the text out from the background. It is a really great way when you feel that your text is being lost into the background, if you've got a really busy background, to make sure you've got some sort of shadow or something on it to help push it out from the background. I tend to just use black or white to do that, but obviously you can use whatever colour you want, preferably more contrasting from the background. The final thing I'm doing, again to give her a little bit of a shadow and push her out from the background, is to use my Inktense pencil to go around the outside. If you had a Stabilo Oil pencil, you could use that as well. And then I'm just using a little bit of water to create that shadow effect. I also started to add it onto her body as well. I don't regret doing it, but because you're working on top of a magazine image, it can sometimes wrinkle the paper up, so just be careful with that. It may not give you the effect you want to, and perhaps try on a page that didn't have the picture you wanted to use on, for example, to see how water will affect your image before you start adding water over the top of it. But that's my end page. So really simple, using a fairly simple technique in the background to create something as a focal, to push the focal image more into the foreground. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and click like if you enjoyed this video, and there's plenty more to have a look at too. Till next time, bye for now.